Alright guys, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to the showdown between Tzeentch and the Dinos. It's going to be VILITCH making a big appearance here, always fun to see him in action, and he's going to be facing off against the big man Mazdamundi, who I'm not sure if he's going to be on his throne, although I could do the quick math. Yeah, I think Mazdamundi is going to be on Zlak, actually, looking at this, because these guys are like, what, 800 apiece? So yeah, to fill out this full army, he probably would need to be on his big dinosaur. Although it depends on the magic and items you bring, but yeah, looks like Mazda is going to be on the big beast, which, again, Tzeentch isn't a bad idea. Like, having Mazdamundi being like a semi-Kugath type like damage sponge isn't terrible, because he's got massive armor, right? And a lot of Tzeentch's shooting via like pinks and blues is very low armor piercing. And on top of that, he does have the Sunburst standard, most likely. Does he have it? No, he didn't bring that. So he didn't bring the missile resist item, but he does have Apotheosis, which can heal himself up. So Saurus warriors and a bunch of lizard infantry. Lizardmen are really good at swarming the battlefield with infantry. And then from there, you follow up with your specialist pieces, right? So you go with Saurus and Skinks initially to get the objectives. And then you're bringing out your Salamanders, your Coldwind Knights, your Razordons, like your Ripperdactyls. Whatever it is that you need, that's kind of a very good way to play lizards, in my opinion. FPOD is actually a really, really top-tier lizard player for sure. Over here, we do have our mighty Tzeentchian champion, the Ghoul Baby. I'm very excited to see what's going on here. This is, always a Chad play bringing VILITCH, and I too am a VILITCH enjoyer. Every time I play Tzeentch, I basically bring him, and he's kind of like a Walmart version of Sigvald, like tanky, hard to kill, can set on objectives, and it looks like he has Glean Magic, which you never see. So what is this? Yeah, I'm like, what does this accursed ancient spell even do? So if you cast it on the enemy, it basically takes away their power recharge rate and reserves. So it's going to be taking away, it takes away a bit. It's like 0.10, so they're going to be losing 2.3 winds of magic only. And then if you cast it on yourself, it augments your power recharge and gives you 0.10 per second. So yeah, I don't know, maybe it's a decent spell. I feel like it's kind of bad just reading the tooltip, but we'll have to see. It's going to be blues backed up by Chaos Warrior Halberds. We do have the Severed Claw, which, yeah, if these guys can get their hands on a big dino like a Bastillodon, they can tear them down 100%. On the other side, we got blues, and Marauders and Chaos Warriors. So should be a Royal Rumble of Chaos here on Kodal's Mistwood. Not a map that's seen terribly often in tournaments because of the choke points, and it can be a little bit tough to cast as well, but one of the most beautiful maps in the Total Tavern Tournament map pack, like hands down. It's an absolutely gorgeous map. But yeah, excited to see battles on it every now and then. And again, shout out to all of our map makers. Without you folks, our community would be in some pretty rough shape for sure. And speaking of, I'll be probably announcing another map making contest soon to add even more spice to our lives. So, Blue Horrors of Tzeentch moving up. We do have the Severed Claw as well as some Marauders. They'll be okay. And yeah, the Chaos Warriors with Halberds can definitely fight off Saurus simply because of how good their armor is. So, spamming the Halberd Warriors can be pretty effective, even if you're not like running into like large stuff. However, I really do like the shielded Tzeentchian Warriors, considering like the Lizardmen firepower, like Chameleon Skinks and things like that, and they can drag down your Halberds. Now, we do have objective 2 right here, and this objective is pretty important on this map because if you control this, it gives you a Vanguard point. So whoever controls objective 2 is going to be getting a more forward Vanguard point with which to kind of party. The other side objectives on this map, and this is one of the reasons why you don't see it terribly often, is because it's really hard to like this like weird choke point forest here, which I actually aesthetically really like, but it's very tough to push your opponent's back objective here. So we see a Chaos Warrior Halberd and a Marauder of Tzeentch hanging out. Really, it's often going to be a battle here on objective 2. And do we see the Glean Magic taking away the winds of magic, the reserves from the Lizardmen? Now, interesting. How haggard would it be to go like triple Tzeentch caster and just spam Glean Magic on your opponent? Like if you're playing against a faction that really likes to like cast, certain spells are really like the definition of that faction. They really define them. Maybe that would be good. So VILITCH going in to fight Mazdamundi. We get a ruin. Oh my god, big ruination. The blues get popped. It takes the shields off the warriors, and the spawn of Tzeentch also take a little bit of damage on their shields. That was a really good ruination. Now the Severed Claw is going to be moving in, but what I was going to say is Mazdamundi in a straight up fight on Zlak will absolutely dominate VILITCH. VILITCH is not good against like big anti-infantry monsters. That is certainly his bane, but Chaos Warrior is going to be battling Saurus, and spawn in the picture is also big too. The Tzeentchian spawn do have armor sundering, so they put Saurus down to 30 armor, which is super low. That's like state trooper level armor. And then suddenly, like the shooting from some of the blues and pinks in the back can actually do some big damage. Looks like Mazdamundi is going to be dropping a big comet right there. That could be absolutely devastating. Oh my god, we have to keep tabs on that. VILITCH still bumping and grinding, and here it comes. Boom! Big comet of Cassandora from the big man. And those Chaos Warriors get absolutely hammered. So that's an MVP play from the Dinos for sure. And it looks like the Dinos are actually, look at that, they're like coming around the back of the army. The Dinos are cutting off the reinforcements using all their special secret agent skinks here. We do have the skink skirmishers, not using chameleons, but they are able to intercept some of the spawn and some of the blues and also the pinks. And this is a pretty cool tactic you see in domination every now and then, like cutting off your opponent's reinforcements. And it's kind of one of the ways in which domination is very similar to, you know, like other RTS games, where in Age of Empires, like if somebody's rushing you with the English longbows and you have horsemen, you can cut off their reinforcements as they try and like pile up more troops outside your base, and then that gives you the opportunity and a little bit more time to kind of stabilize yourself. Nonetheless, the fighting here appears to be slightly Dino favored in terms of the pure damage value, but again, Tzeentch shields can be a hell of a strong thing. Chaos Warriors and Spawn grinding down these Saurus Warriors. And over here, VILITCH and the boys of these Chaos Warrior Halberds not doing badly. Able to get a bit of damage on the Bastiladon. And we do also see Mazdamundi getting slightly beat up. I think this Spawn have been putting some hurt on Mazdamundi in tandem with VILITCH and the Halberds. I think all three of those units have been working together pretty well. On the backside, we don't really see anything going down over here. So looking on the far side, Objective 1 and Objective 3 are pretty much completely uncontested. We basically have a campaign-esque battle here in the woods. I feel like we're watching like a quest battle unfold. The Blues shooting into the Skink cohorts, not going to do a whole lot of damage. Marauders of Tzeentch will be losing pretty decisively to Saurus Warriors. It will take some time, but they will end up losing that. And now the big Chungus is going to be pulling back, probably going to be dropping some sort of a Comet of Cassandora here again is what it looks like. Oh yeah, dude, I love it. Such a cool spell. And there it goes, and not too much damage. We don't get the big exciting hype right there, but it does hit the Severed Claw, and I've been seeing a lot of the Severed Claw lately. These ROR aspiring champions, like, I don't know if they're actually good. Like, I'm curious. Maybe they're becoming meta, but it's so fun to watch the Tzeentch play. One of the factions I really enjoy. They've certainly fallen off the meta, but Severed Claw cutting through these units. I mean, they have 120 armor, very, very raid boss, and VILITCH is just kind of hunting down Lord Mazdamundi, and I'm surprised Mazdamundi hasn't kind of turned his horns onto VILITCH yet, but I suppose the Severed Claw has been with him the entire time. And one of the things that VILITCH actually does is VILITCH regenerates the shields of nearby units. So he does it when he's casting spells, and he also passively does it for a lesser amount. So like on really elite units, like the Severed Claw, you can see they're getting like constant shield regeneration, which is essentially a form of infinite healing if you kind of look at it. Huge Tzeentch army ability. Okay, that could be a game changer. That's massive. That's going to be crumping the Saurus, going to be crumping the Skinks. These guys look to be broken as well. And that army ability might flip the objective for Tzeentch. And Tzeentch now also bringing in Screamers. The Screamer should be an excellent tool against Mazdamundi, especially with his armor sundered here. He's going to be a little bit more softened up. And also some Spawn also have him trapped in place ever so slightly. But yeah, the Tzeentch army ability is one of those things that just like turns the tide of games. Tzeentch is one of those factions that I think does come out of the gate pretty strong, and they have a very strong mid game. Something I found with Tzeentch is that when they get into the late game and they run out of magic and they don't have those like army abilities and their characters can't cast it anymore, they definitely do struggle a bit. But this Glean magic thing, like draining the winds of magic of the Lizardmen, I wonder like how truly effective that is. It's something I think I'm going to try a build with like triple magic stealing build and see if that's actually effective. And once again, we see Apotheosis going down, so Mazdamundi going to be getting the fat heals on himself, and Tzeentch looks like they're holding on to this objective. And the back objective, we do have a little bit of a mortal combat over here, so we do have some Marauders battling Saurus Warriors. Basically going to be a big fat wet noodle contest. I think most of the epicenter of action is going to be on objective 2 here. Tzeentch does have some Furies being picked off that were able to break the Chameleon Skinks before they went quietly back to the warp here. And VILITCH and company, though, holding it down. And really, it's mainly the VILITCH and the Severed Claw show. The Severed Claw, I think they're still very healthy. Yeah, look at that. 16 models, so they haven't lost any models yet. And I would imagine they're sitting at a decent amount of value. Really nice Pink Fire right there. Pink Fire is an excellent spell against Dinos. It's pretty good against Saurus, especially if they're armor sundered. And it's even better against like Skink cohorts and all those sorts of lightly armored infantry that the Lizardmen like to spam. Ruination of Cities going down, kind of tickles the pickle of some of these Forsaken, actually does some pretty substantial damage. Tzeentch and Forsaken and Spawn, a very classic, iconic Warhammer 3 combo. When Tzeentch first came out, before they got all this cool Champions of Chaos stuff, the Forsaken stacked with the Spawn was certainly one of the more powerhouse combos that they did have. Forsaken back here, protected by the Severed Claw. I think Severed Claw has been able to aptly fend off these big dinos. So the Lord Mazdamundi and the Bastiladon Rev Crystal, they've been taking a ton of damage from these ROR guys. I mean, they're only at like 1300 value, but Screamers and Severed Claw fighting shoulder to shoulder. Well, I guess the Screamers don't really have shoulders, but metaphorically speaking, it certainly works. So dinos look like they're going to be blitzing the other objective. So they have their Saurus fighting here. The Saurus probably will lose to these Halberds, but they're going to be bringing another unit of Saurus, as well as some Feral Cold Ones. Now, Feral Cold Ones stacked on top of the Saurus Warriors will be able to do very well against the Chaos Warrior Halberds, because the Halberds will be using most of their attacks against the actual Saurus models, and that allows the Feral Cold Ones and their armor piercing to really saturate in there and do some good work. So the Tzeentch and Halberds, though, on their own, pretty independent against the Saurus units. I think Chaos Warriors in general, like regardless of what roster we're looking at, like Khorne, Nurgle, Tzeentch, Slaanesh, I think Chaos Warriors are probably one of the best infantry units in the entire game. Like, they're just so cost effective, they're durable, they have great damage output. You know, it's kind of the iconic unit of the roster anyways. Literally, they're called Warriors of Chaos, Chaos Warriors. You guys get the picture. But this objective flips back to the dinos. It seems like the bump and grind of Mazdamundi, the Saurus Warriors, the Rev Crystal Bastillodon, and the swarming swaths of Lizard Infantry have certainly grinded down the dreaded Severed Claw, as VILITCH the Curseling continues to try and fight in this point. I always tend to lose when I bring VILITCH, even though, you know, we have a lot of fun with him. I'm curious if the Tzeentch player is going to be able to kind of swing this one back. They're being pressured on many, many points here. On this backside, we do see the Halberds backed up by some Robbers. Should be able to fend off these Feral Cold ones since the other Saurus, they went in ahead of their support. So the Saurus Warriors are still sitting back on this objective, but it looks like the dinos are going to be getting this point back. And it's not like this Tzeentch build can relocate to the other side. If there was like an Exalted Lord of Change, for example, they could go over to the other point and like start harassing and maybe opening up a scheme, a Tzeentchian scheme to take that back objective. But that's the problem with VILITCH, is he doesn't like synergize with that like... Yeah, I mean, he does synergize with Tzeentch a little bit, but the big chickens are just so good. Like, whether it be Kairos. Kairos is nice with snares and good crowd clearing. And also you have your boy Exalted Lord of Change, who can summon Furies and causes terror, and it's just like actually quite a good fighter. And the big chickens would be able to fight against Lord Mazdamundi as well, but it looks like the dinos have just drowned them in bodies. And the Severed Claw finally breaks, but they did get 1,600 value, which actually did pay for themselves. The VILITCH people here are going to be attacking into the Bastillodon, and 3,700... Yeah, not good armor piercing, though. He suffers from, like, the old Sigvald. Like, Sigvald doesn't have the best AP, but at least Sigvald is, like, an unholy raid boss that heals himself. VILITCH kind of does with his shields, but Sigvald's going to be healing under all circumstances. So is Tzeentch going to be sending anything to defend this, or are they going to be putting the hope of their back objective on those halberds? It looks like that's going to be the case. We see more Screamers coming in. We do also see some Spawn. So it looks like Spawn in the tree line. Spawn will be okay here. If the halberds, the skink cohorts are out of javelins, the Spawn will actually be quite nasty and could cause some serious havoc. VILITCH is bumping and grinding. You know, he's having some fun. He's trying to regenerate his shields, but more Saurus Warriors coming in. And yeah, Screamers aren't going to be terribly great here. They could attack Mazdamundi, but I think, like, if you're a Tzeentch, you stop fighting for this point, because most of this army is actually very slow, right? Like, the Saurus Warriors only have, like, speed in the low 30s, so I think you, like, just leave VILITCH here as a distraction, then you, like, overload the other side. Might be your only glimmer of hope, but the one thing is you have to remember that Mazdamundi has been able to heal a lot. There's been a ton of apotheosis action, so the dinos are not only up in value by like 2,000 flat, but they're also on top of that healing a ton. So those bad boys are going to be very, very topped off. Screamers of Tzeentch on their way back in. Big Tzeentchian army ability. Could this be the comeback? The Tzeentch army ability doesn't track on the damage value too, so that's something we have to consider. But that was a big erect one right there. Oh my god, that army ability is so good. It's so, so good. As it just does massive havoc there. Screamer's going to be moving in. Is that enough to potentially get a comeback here with the Spawn grinding these guys down? No, it doesn't look like it. Looks like the Tzeentch player gets one last laugh and then taps out. Yeah, that wasn't going to be enough. But that was a really fun game. It was cool. We got to see VILITCH. We got to see Severed Claw, some cool halberds. Mazdamundi dropping some fat rocks on people's head, or comets, I should say. And yeah, always cool to see VILITCH, but again, I think he's a little bit weak. I think if you have a big chicken, you know, he can fight the monsters better. He's more dynamic, can move across the battlefield. It's a shame, but VILITCH, you know, as much as he wants to be Sigvald, he never will be, sadly, unless he gets some big change. All right, guys, GG well played. Looking at value on some of the big hitters, 2,100, 18, 16 on Severed Claw. Nothing else on Tzeentch probably really did that crazy. Some flamers of Tzeentch would have actually been quite good against that like mass infantry style that couldn't, like, the lizard army didn't have the tools to dive. It only had the tools to grind and like slow push you. So something like that could have been quite good. All right, guys, take care. See you next time.